Welcome. My name is Dan Freed. I'm Chair of the Plan and Zoning Commission. I'll read the rules and procedures. The Plan and Zoning Commission is generally an advisory body to the City Council. The City Council will hold a public hearing and make the final decision on all matters before the Commission, other than site plans and subdivision plots, unless denials or conditional approvals thereof are appealed. Please contact the City Clerk or Community Development Department staff at 515-689-9485 for details on council hearing. The applicant will be given 10 minutes to present the request. If applicants wish to share materials not already submitted with the application, please email them to planning@dmgov.org so a staff host may be able to share them on the screen when you present. Proponents and then opponents from the public are then allowed to speak in that order, with each speaker allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. Staff has attempted to compile a list of people who would like to speak on each item. Staff will first call on these people and then will open it up to anyone else who wishes to speak. To request to speak during the hearing, use the raise hand function on Zoom via the internet or dial *9 on your phone. You will be required to give your name and address for the record prior to speaking. Also, we ask that you keep your microphone on mute unless you've been given the chance to address the commission by the chair. To unmute your phone, press *6. The applicant is then allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal if any opponents vote. All comments are to be germane to the item under consideration, and speakers are to maintain a courteous manner. The hearing will then be closed, and the commission will discuss and vote on the issue. Items listed on the consent portion of the agenda will not be individually discussed and will be considered for approval in accordance with the recommendation of the staff report, unless an individual present or member of the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately under the public hearing agenda. City of Des Moines, please provide accommodations to individuals or groups with disabilities and encourages participation in city government. Please know that typical accommodations may be limited by emergency requirements as issued by the state of Iowa and the City of Des Moines. I believe we have a quorum, so we'll do roll call. Lori?
Okay. Let's try that again.
Hello?
Okay, I'm sorry, I got really bad feedback. I still do.
Are you listening to the on another device for some reason?
No.
Okay.
Should someone else take roll call right now, Eric?
Let me.
Let's try this again.
Abby? Yeah, here.
Rocky?
Here.
Will? Johnny?
Here.
Emily?
Here.
Dory?
Here.
Jan?
Here.
Kayla?
Here.
Lisa?
Here.
Steve?
Here.
Carolyn? Francis?
Here.
Greg Wadier?
Here.
Greg Jones?
I don't see Greg on the call.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Glory. Do we have any revisions or changes to the minutes from the last meeting? Okay. Hearing, seeing none. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval of the minutes. This is Story.
Steve Story. Roll call or vote? Glory.
Rocky? Will? Johnny? All right. Is there anyone else?
Is there anyone else who can do this because this isn't working on this end?
Yeah, Glory, this is Jason Van Ness with planning staff. One of us will work on getting a roster in front of us, and we'll take it. Okay? I can either do it if you can give me a second, unless Dolores can get
I have a roster in front of me.
All right, let's have Dolores do it.
Greg Jones. Dan Sweet.
Yes.
Kayla Berkson. Yes. Lisa Howard. Abstain. Greg Wadier.
Yes.
Dory Bryles. Yes. Francis Bogus.
Yeah.
Carolyn Jennison.
Carolyn's on here.
Carolyn Jennison. I'll come back.
Yes,
Steve Wallace. Yes, it's unmuted. Yes. Go ahead.
Here.
Steve Wallace.
Here.
Will Page. Abby Chungus. Yes. Johnny Elsevar.
Yes.
Rocky Spazzato.
Yes.
And Emily Webb.
Yes.
11 yes and 1 abstain.
Hey, thanks, Laura. Now we'll turn our attention to the consent items. Number one, item number one. I think, Eric, are you trying to pull them up? Okay, thank you. Item number one, request from Bell Avenue Properties, represented by Guy Gass, for review and approval of a preliminary plat, Airport Industrial Park Plat 3 for property located at 6200 Scout Trail to define a 27.27 acre development parcel for previous outlet X and Y in Airport Industrial Park Plat 2 to provide turnaround right-of-way for Scott Trail and to provide ROW to realign Southwest McKinley Avenue. Eric?
So these are all on the consent agenda, Jan.
Yeah.
So, are we gonna go through the?
All right. I'm with you. Sorry. Yes, I know it's consent. Okay.
So there's 6 items on consent, and so we'll go through those and then find out if anyone wants to speak on those or any commissioner wants to pull those off.
Thank you. Is there anyone online who would like to hear item number 1? Please raise your hand or *9. I'm looking here.
I don't see anybody.
One either. Okay. Anyone on the commission who would like to hear item number 1? Okay. Item number 2, request from Hotel Francis, represented by Michael Nelson, for vacation of a 4-foot by 4-foot segment of the south edge of University Avenue, adjoining property at 2650 University Avenue, to allow for a door swing and landing for emergency egress only from a restaurant tenant space within the hotel building. Is there anyone online who would like to hear that item?
This is Eric Lundy. There's an individual says planning and zoning. They need to provide their name. We'll allow you to talk, but you can provide your name. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I did. I was talking about number 1 there. I'm Nick Van Patten at 6020 Southwest McKinley Avenue with the on the deal with the hearing with the Bell Avenue Properties with the Waldinger Corporation. And I was trying to hit it there. I'm sorry there with my phone. I'm not used to Zoom all the time. Is it okay to go back on that on 1 or?
Well, would you like to hear that item?
Well, yeah, because I do have, I would, because I was kind of confused on stuff, and I just wanted to ask on some stuff on there that was supposed to be, that as an owner across from there, that I was just wondering about on some issues there. I think it's on this X and Y part, which I didn't quite understand when they sent in the picture here, because it really doesn't show what X and Y is on the pictures we got. So I was kind of confused on the whole issue. And mainly it's in front of my property and some of the other properties in front of the, not on the other side, on the actual Waldinger, but on the front part there where the roadway. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll move this to the public hearing.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I misunderstood then. All right.
You want to hear this item, so then we'll move it to the public hearing.
Yes, because I'd like to ask some questions and comment on it. Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right.
We'll remove item number 1. Okay? Thank you. Item number 2. Is there anyone online who would like to hear item number 2? Raise your hand on Zoom or *9. I'm not seeing any. Is there anyone on the commission who would like to hear that item? Okay, I'm not seeing any. All right, we'll go to item number 3. Item number 3. Request from RLBR Holdings, represented by Robert Bierma, for review and approval of an amendment to a major preliminary plat, McKinley Acres, on properties located at 3359 and 3365 McKinley Avenue, to remove the restriction requiring one drive approach access for 2 lots fronting McKinley Avenue, to allow a separate access for each property at 3359 and 3365 McKinley Avenue. Is there anyone online who would like to hear that item? Raise your hand or *9. Okay, not seeing any. Is there anyone on the commission? Okay. Item number 4. City-initiated request for a public hearing site plan for a city-owned property located at 1300 Scott Avenue within a DX2 downtown district for request of the following Type 2 design alternatives in accordance with Chapter 135, Section 135-9.2.4.c and 135-9.3.1. B, in order to allow reuse of the existing building, downtown general building type, on the property by the City of Des Moines, and to include a surface parking lot with 38 spaces. Is there anyone online who would like to hear this item? Please raise your hand or *9 on the phone. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Anyone on the commission who would like to hear this item? Okay, we'll go to item number 5. Item number 5 is a request from 3801 Grand Avenue represented by Frank Levy, for review and approval of a PUD final development site plan, 3801 Grand Avenue, for property located at 3801 and 3721 Grand Avenue to allow development of a 4-story independent senior living apartment building in accordance with the 3801 Grand Avenue PUD conceptual plan requirements. Is there anyone online who would like to hear this item? I'm not seeing any. Is there anyone on the commission who would like to hear this item? Okay. Item number 6. Hold on. Okay. Item number 6. Request from Little Brother Construction, represented by Gene Jones, for the following regarding property located at 2025 East Grand Avenue. The subject property is owned by Cypress Property. Is there anyone online who'd like to hear this item? Please raise your hand on Zoom or *9 on the phone. I see a hand. Okay.
Madam Chair, that's the applicant. I'm not sure. Do they understand the are they wanting to argue any of the conditions on the staff report, or is that? I'm just wondering if they want to pull it off for discussion.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like the hand went down.
Okay.
If the applicant agrees with what's in the recommendation, then we don't have to hear the item unless someone else wants to hear it.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone on the commission who would like to hear that item? Okay. So for the for the consent agenda, then we are going to pull number 1. And that leaves, the consent agenda would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I have a motion?
This is Emily Webb. I'll move.
So we're going to pass all 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for consent, and we're pulling item number 1. Okay? Roll call. Lori or Bert or Jason.
Dolores. I'll do it.
Or Dolores. Sorry.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Yes.
Greg Wadier.
Yes.
Dory Briles.
Yes.
Francis Bogus.
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison. Yes. Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Will Page. Abby Chunga.
Yes.
Johnny Elsevar.
Yes.
Rocky Spazzato.
Yes.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
Greg Jones. Dan Freed.
Yes.
Kayla Berkman. Abstain from 2, yes to the others.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll turn our attention to the public hearing items, and we'll start with number 1.
Madam Chair, point of business, there's 2 individuals still that need to give their numbers, or they're going to need to be removed from the webinar. Now we have 3. So we need to square away, otherwise we might have issues with.
Okay. So we need to know whose number is 515,
515-208-9537. Please provide your full name, or put the name up in your own device if you're able to. And I'm allowing them to talk, so if they unmute with *6, they can speak. 515-208-9537. Please provide your full name, or you're going to be removed from the webinar. Oh, we can hear you. Please give your full name.
This is
What's
Guy
that? Guy Gast? Okay, Guy. We'll get you. Whether or not you could hear. I can hear you. We've got you. Okay, so caller at 515 237-1778, please identify
The host would like you to
yourself
unmute
with
your
your full
microphone.
name
You can
so
press
that we can
star
keep
6
you within the
to
webinar.
unmute.
The caller at 515-237-1778, please, you're allowed to talk, so if you can unmute by star 6, please give your full name.
The host would like you to unmute your microphone. You can press star 6 to unmute.
But it won't let me.
You are muted.
Caller at 515-577-1782, please unmute and give your full name. Unmute by pressing star 6. If you don't give us your full name, we'll have to remove you from the webinar. I'll give the 515-237-1778. Please unmute and give your own, give your full name.
Eric, do you see the hand up?
Yeah, I don't know, unless there's a procedural question, I don't know if we can let them speak until their item comes up.
Right. The hand went down. So.
Okay.
Goodbye.
So the other point of business is that the item number 8, the city initiated request to rezone property in the vicinity of Southeast 4th Street and East Market Street has the city as the applicant has asked for a continuance of this item till September 17th. So if you could take that up before we begin the hearing agenda.
Okay. So number 8 has been, the applicant's requested to continue. Is there a
Now I
motion?
can't hear anything.
This is Dory. I'll move item 8 to September 17th.
Thanks, Dory. Roll call, please. Dolores?
Abby Chungus,
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar,
Yes.
Rocky Spizzato,
Yes.
Emily Webb,
Yes.
Greg Jones, Jan Freed,
Yes.
Kayla Berkson,
Yes.
Lisa Howard,
Yes.
Greg Wadier,
Yes.
Dory Briles,
Yes.
Francis Bogus,
Yes.
Carolyn Jennison,
Yes.
Steve Wallace,
Yes.
Will Pate. That's 12 yes.
Thank you. So, we're going back to item number 1. And Eric?
Eric, do you have item number 1?
I'm sharing, I'm in the middle of sharing, but my laptop keeps locking up on me, so I'm trying to get it back open. I'll share it as soon as I get it open.
Am I sending this to the wrong people?
Okay, can everybody see item 1 there on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a request from Bell Avenue Properties. They are the property owner of the property that's being developed for Waldinger's headquarters. This same requested action, the review and approval of the preliminary plat for Airport Industrial Park Plat 3 was previously approved, but because they, under the code provisions, there's a timeline in which a final plat has to be filed for review, and because that wasn't met, they're going to have their preliminary plat reconsidered. That said, so the outlot X and Y are actually the names of the lots of the property in Airport Industrial Park Plat 2. They were able to proceed with an approved site plan and public improvement plans to Scout Trail and McKinley based on the approved preliminary plat previously. However, they didn't file the final plat to lock in those parcel boundaries in a time in which we would be able to move that to the city council. So they've resubmitted it for consideration. There is not any revision to what was previously approved. So the outlot Y and X are actually these two pieces. There's some old right-of-way easement lines that show up on the system here. This is looking down Scout Trail to the east. You can already see the new headquarters building up in the right to the southeast. This is looking more northeast from the end of the paved improvement of Scout Trail at the moment. This is looking to the northeast from the frontage road now, formerly McKinley Avenue, Southwest McKinley, is now a frontage road to provide access for the homeowners to the south. This is looking a little more northerly towards the Waldinger. You barely see the building there in the upper left-hand corner. This is looking west, southwesterly, where Veterans Parkway and Southwest McKinley come into Southwest 63rd or Highway 28. This is the turnaround at the end of that frontage road, so that there's emergency access can get in there, turn around as necessary. This is looking more south from that cul-de-sac end of that frontage road at the homes. That's looking more towards the intersection. This is the plat submittal again. And it includes the public improvement that's already in place actually. The alignment of the street connection with driveways that connect to the east, and then this is a access road into the former Southwest McKinley, the frontage road. So this is actually showing as Southwest McKinley Drive. And Southwest McKinley Avenue follows this new configuration here. This is the terminus of Scout Trail, but they've also provided necessary ability for that to extend and sweep to the east and then towards the northeast onto the adjoining property over time. So there's parcels identified here that would be dedicated for that public right-of-way purpose in the event that the street improvement gets extended. So again, this is coming back to you because it is the filing of the final plat did not occur in time for the code provision. Staff report still recommends approval.
subject to compliance with the administrative review comments of the preliminary plat. So they'll have to refinalize the document based on the action taken tonight. We're not recommending any modifications as staff. We took a couple of phone calls from neighbors to kind of convey this, the purpose for this, because I do understand there was probably some confusion as to why something was coming forward when basically the project's almost complete overall. So, but it's more of a technicality, I guess, than anything. This is the consent map. Like I said, we got phone calls, but we didn't get any written objections or comments in favor. I do believe Guy Gass is on, and I don't know if any of his consultants are here to answer any questions specifically. And of course, Mr. Van Patten is here to speak on it.
I was going to ask if the applicant wants to speak. Say your name and address, please.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, this is Guy Gass with the Waldinger Corporation.
Yes. Address?
204 Southwest Camden Drive, Ankeny, Iowa.
Thank you. You want to add anything to this, Mr. Gass?
Not really. I think Eric did a good job of describing it. For whatever reason, the final plat submission was overlooked. And I suspect some of that. We did amend the project during the development to include the trail that I think came before planning and zoning as an accommodation to the city, extending a trail along the western edge. That required a slight revision of the right-of-way to accommodate the setback required by the city. So Jeff Gaddis is on the line, or I know he's available. Jeff is with CEC, prepared the original and this resubmission. But I think Eric characterized it correctly. We haven't really changed any of the site plans or platting. So it's just catching up to the process.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gass from the commission? Okay. Thank you. I see two other hands up. So is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? I don't think so. Is there anyone who would like to, who has concerns about this proposal? I see two hands up.
We have Nick Van Patten. I'll unmute him and allow him to talk first, and then Joseph Lakers after him.
Okay, sure.
There, can you hear me now?
Yeah?
Okay, yes. So yes, I was calling because in the whole process.
Okay, we've got your seat, but give your address, please.
Okay, 6020 Southwest McKinley Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and so, yes, I mean, there was a change, and I was just calling because our part there, my part is what's in front of my house here. There was presented the planning zoning, and we had the final stages when we had where to work with the Waldinger Corporation and on the frontage road there, they took out another part there where we were supposed to get on some land that was supposed to be like half the roadway, or a little bit more, and so that's where we left it, looking at it with some other issues with, trees and so forth. But and in doing so, then they had another meeting later on. But anyway, that was what was proposed at the first part when we were finishing up, and when I talked with the last planning, and it says that in the meeting there, but then there was another meeting that I wasn't aware of on the changes that were made on some changes, I guess. But anyway, I'm just reaching out here because there's supposed to be some issues there with the fronting road up there. And so that's what I was calling about on there, because there were just some issues that were not followed through with.
Okay. We will have the applicant come back on. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I mean, I just like to say I made many different attempts and calls to get together with different individuals, and it wasn't, there were for times and dates and things just weren't followed through and the meeting part on it. So anyway, so that's what was, that when we first had this project was going through on it. So anyway, that's what I'm calling about it, because I'm kind of confused on some of the stuff now here. But anyway, I would like to have where we could, you know, that's what I'm asking on this part here is what is going on, I guess, you know, and that's what I'm, you know, talking about.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get clarity here. So thank you. Mr. Lakers, you want to speak? You have some concerns about this proposal?
Hello?
Yeah. Say your, we've got your name.
I'm only interested in item 5, so if I typed this inadvertently, I'm only interested in the Frank Levy development.
Okay, fine. Okay. So,
Madam Chair, that was approved on the consent agenda.
yeah.
And he did not raise his hand during the offering of that opportunity, I guess. That's already approved.
Yeah. So, Mr. Lakers, that's already been approved, and we're moving on. So, all right. Is there anyone else who has concerns about this proposal? If not, then, you know, Mr. Gass, you want to address those concerns. Because what we really need clarity, you know, we need for him to understand.
Well, I'll try. First of all, this is, I think this is a submission on the plat, on the preliminary plat, which is the same version that was submitted and approved. I think some of Nick's questions relate to the public meeting and other steps in the process that went through planning and zoning. And I think Eric could speak to the fact that at one of the planning and zoning meetings, we were asked to go back and have another follow-up meeting with the neighbors to ensure that their concerns were considered. And that was held, and we then returned to planning and zoning, not about the plat, but related to the site plan and the development. So I'm not sure how to address the question I heard Nick raise was related to, I believe, that piece of ground that exists between Old McKinley and has become a piece of grass now. Technically, we don't really, I'll say, in a fashion, we don't really have much control over that piece of ground because it's all within the right-of-way. We have amended, at the neighbor's request, a berm to raise it. I think we relocated trees to decrease line of sight to the property from drives or from the grounds. And to my knowledge, I thought we had addressed every written request. Now, Nick is accurate that at some point, quite well along, and Nick, you can speak up, but on the drawing you sent us from Bishop that asked us to raise the berm again, we said no, that frankly it was Shive's opinion that any further increase in the height of the berm would be destructive to the grade, that they wouldn't be able to retain it, or that the trees wouldn't grow. But it exceeds the site plan submission. So I admit that if there's confusion about the X and Y lot, those were the descriptions on the original property owned by Mid-America Development. And because we were using the property as one single contiguous piece of ground for the new building, they were combined. And in effect, what we did was take the easement that was formerly Veterans Memorial or the Southwest Connector and did an exchange with the city, which I believe we have a loan agreement in place for, related to the similar property that we redeveloped as the new McKinley Avenue. But I believe all of those are processes that went through planning and zoning on numerous occasions, and we haven't changed those plans. So I admit I'm a little confused. Jeff Gaddis from CEC is on the call, and I think Jeff could confirm the nature of this submission and confirm that essentially it is the same submission we made just over a year ago.
Yeah. Madam Chair, this is Michael Ludwig with staff, if I could speak.
Yes, I'm sorry, I put it on mute. Okay, yes, please.
Chair and members of the commission, Michael Ludwig, Planning Administrator. I believe that on the information that's in front of you tonight, the ground that Mr. Van Patten is referring to on the very south edge is existing city right-of-way, and so the Waldinger project is not changing anything. They're just showing the existing right-of-way within this plat. For Mr. Van Patten to take acquisition of any excess right-of-way would be to submit a request for vacation of that, any excess right-of-way on the south side of basically what was Old McKinley. And then the council could make a decision on whether it was needed for a public purpose, and then could convey that to property owners if they see fit. And then Mr. Van Patten could obviously, if he acquired that, could use it for landscaping or whatever screening that he wants to provide on the north edge of his property or the south edge of the Old McKinley right-of-way. But again, I believe that the area he's talking about is what is already in existing city right-of-way. Tonight's action does not vacate that right-of-way. It is only showing that right-of-way as it exists as a part of the plat, just as it was a year ago. And so there are additional steps, but it's my understanding that those additional steps would be separate from this platting process and would be responsible for Mr. Van Patten to submit a request for right-of-way vacation on the south edge of the Old McKinley right-of-way. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I do see Mr. Van Patten has a hand up again.
Okay. So because there were some changes, I guess, were made, and I wasn't. We had a meeting in April, and then they had a meeting in August, and I wasn't notified about that meeting where they're talking about a year ago at this time when they did the final changes. So I didn't know about a lot of these different changes until they started working on everything in front of me, and I expressed that, went through it all. So, all right. Well, Mike, I'm glad you explained. So I guess I have nothing with the other property across the way. It's just what was going on, like Mike said, with this whole, what would happen in front there. So, because it was changed in front of my property from the original, they did change it again and made it bigger than what was originally planned. So anyway, so I was just changing the, longer going back towards west instead of east and west instead of, what they originally had. So, all right. Well, I have nothing wrong with all the other stuff. That's what I was asking. So, Mike, you're explaining to me that I have to submit at a later, submit to, which nobody explained to me until right now here.
Okay, Mike, did you want to respond?
I'll just reaffirm that if there's excess right-of-way on the south edge of the, old McKinley right-of-way or along this area, there could be a request to vacate that excess right-of-way and acquire it and for personal use for landscaping and screening, et cetera.
Yeah, because that's what that's right, Mike. And I was told that at the time that there was at least half to 3/4 of the road of that right-of-way that, I would be getting. And we had to talk with Ryan and everybody else and all. So all right, that's fine. So we contact or go through the process here on that with you or who that?
Yeah, those have to.
Nick, you can work through me, Eric Lundy.
All right, Eric. I will do that then because that was all talk, and that's my only concern. Otherwise, everything else is fine.
Okay.
And the answer, that's fine. That's my only concern I had, and I know some other neighbors were confused about what was being presented here tonight too, and I told them to call in, but they didn't. That's their issue. My issue is what was on the right of way with the road frontage that disappeared on, in front of mine and some other property there. So another property along the way. That's all I'm here about.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, it's time to close the poll.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have one thing. This is Eric Lundy. Just to kind of clarify, this is actually a step that had already occurred, and the development plan or site plan already was approved, and they've gotten permits and construction, public improvement plans approved by City Council, and all of this work's been done. But this has to happen in order for them to file the final plat with City Council, which will actually dedicate the new right-of-way and create these new parcels that were contemplated with all of this. So this is a necessary step to get to, I think, where Mr. Van Patten is wanting to go in order to request the vacation of a portion of the right-of-way.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity. It's time to close the public hearing. So discussion.
This is Dory. I'll move staff.
Thanks, Dory. Roll call. Dolores. Dolores.
Here we go.
Sorry.
Emily Webb.
Yes.
Rocky Pizzotto.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Yes.
Abigail Tungus. Yes. Will Page. Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Carolyn Dennison. Carolyn Jennison. I'll come back. Francis Boggett.
Yes.
Dory Briles.
Yes.
Greg Wadier.
Yes.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Kayla Berkson. Yes. Jan Freed.
Yes.
Greg Jones. Carolyn Dennison. Carolyn Dennison. I see her on the list, panel list.
I know she was having trouble unmuting. So.
Do you have a count, Dolores?
Right now it's 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Motion passed.
Yeah, I can't unmute Carolyn. It's on there, but I can't unmute.
Turning our attention to item number 7 now, public hearing item number 7. Menard, represented by Theron Bird. Additional subject property is owned by Nicholas Damon, Barbara Orr, Kimberly Howland, and Carol Shields. Location 6000 Southeast 14, 5907, 5911, 5917, Southeast 8th Street, and 801 Hart Avenue. Part A, determination as to whether the requested rezoning conformance with Plan DSM creating our tomorrow comprehensive plan. B, amend Plan DSM creating our tomorrow comprehensive plan. The revise the future land use classification from low density residential within a regional node to community mixed use within a regional node. Part C, review and approval of a large scale development plan for expansion to existing 20.8 acre site for retail sales large format use. And Part D, rezone property from N3A neighborhood district and MX3-B mixed use district to CX-C mixed use district to allow the expansion of the existing Menard Home Improvement Center retail sales large format use with an additional 30,855 square foot warehouse. Bert.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Bert Ross, planner for the City of Des Moines. The item before you is a request from Menard to rezone 4 single-family residential properties immediately to their west so that they could do an expansion there on the rear side of their property. The map up here on the screen shows you their existing site, and then you can see the 4 parcels located to the southwest that would be incorporated into the site. And this zoomed in version here provides you a better look at what that would look like. Since the rezoning is for more than 5 acres, they were required to do a large-scale development plan, and that is what is in front of you right now. You can see from their large-scale development plan, the changes that they're proposing are showing up in red. So here at the southwest corner of the site, where they would be removing those 4 houses, they would be constructing a new accessory structure. They would also be maintaining the existing 14-foot tall wall and constructing the new wall where necessary. The elevations that they've submitted demonstrate that the additions and walls would be constructed with the same materials that are there today. I don't know if any of you were on the commission about 12 years ago. They went through a similar request as this when they did an expansion of the garden center to the north. Now I'm going to show you some photos. So on the screen now is the photo of the 4 homes that would be removed. Then I'm going to start from the from the north going south. And then these are some other homes on Southeast 8th Street that back up to the existing Menard facility. And you have to look pretty closely to actually see the Menard facility. They did a good job constructing it so that it has fewer impacts on the neighbors. And then I'm going to show you some site photos. This is the garden center where they expanded 10 years ago to the north. Some more photos taken throughout the site. This is on the south side of the building where they would be reconstructing your customer pickup area. They'd be adding a 3rd lane here. And then another site photo. As far as the staff recommendation goes, we tried to mimic the conditions that were put on the property back in 2008. We felt that those did a good job at protecting the neighborhood. I'm going to read through those right now. The first condition was that the development must provide a 100-foot setback from the westerly property line. And we said that this setback shall fully comply with the buffer requirements, or the heavy buffer requirements in the landscaping standards. You remember on the large-scale development plan, they were only proposing a 54-foot setback. So this will be a point of discussion tonight. For staff's recommending that 100-foot setback from the westerly property line, and they're wanting a 54-foot setback. Number 2 is just retaining that existing 55-foot setback along the northerly property line. Condition number 3, we've said that any commercial development shall be screened with a 14-foot tall solid wall that is set back at least 100 feet from the westerly property line and at least 55 feet from the northerly property line. Number 4, we said no outdoor storage of merchandise shall be stacked higher than that perimeter fencing. Number 5, any external lighting on the property shall have a maximum height of 14 feet. Number 6, any use of the property for a bar or liquor store shall be prohibited. Number 7, any commercial use of the property shall be in conformance with the approved site plan. Number 8, any commercial expansion of the property shall be subject to the entire commercial development being brought into conformance with the current stormwater management requirements. 9, any necessary permits shall be obtained. And 10, prior to certificate of occupancy, the professionals who sign the site plan shall submit a letter to the planning administrator for finding that the property has been improved in accordance with the site plan. Here's a summary of their neighborhood correspondence. They only heard from 2 neighbors. I'll leave that there for you to read. And I'll show you the consent map. We got about half the cards back in support, half in opposition. And I'll let you read through these consent cards. And while you're reading through these, did anybody have any questions for me?
Hey Bert, this is Johnny. I have a question about the current setback. So based on the conditions that replicate the conditions from year past, right now you can say there's a 100-foot setback along the west property line? Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and the way that it was handled in 2008 or 2009 was that the westerly 90 feet remained zoned R160 at the time, and then the zoning required a 10-foot setback from that R160, so it in effect required a 100-foot setback. But this time we're just recommending that the 100-foot setback be a requirement to avoid any confusion with what that means. And then we did have this letter here from a neighbor to the south who has concerns about stormwater on the expansion, and I wasn't quite sure what he was getting at in this letter, so I pulled up the storm sewer map, and it appears that there's an intake here at Southeast 6 that takes stormwater underneath the expansion area in between 2 of the houses and then dumps out onto the 3 properties that the Haggers own here to the south. So in the letter, they were asking if Menards would be willing to construct the storm sewer all the way underground down to Cummins Grove. That's not going to be our recommendation tonight, but I would just say that when they do the site plan, they will be required to demonstrate that the expansion will meet our stormwater management requirements. So, did anybody else have any questions for me?
Hello, Bert, this is Greg. Can you bring back up the site plan? I do have a question. I was trying to look at this on Google. So where they show that dimension of 53 feet 4,
does that go to the edge of the road? Or is that a property line with a, I'm trying to get my bearings here.
That would be the property.
And is that roadway right there? To the west of the...
Yeah, if you look on the aerial.
Yeah, go back to the aerial. That's a better one. Thank you. So when they have the 100-foot, I guess, let me just make sure I ask my question correctly. They have the 101 feet 8 inches noted up above. That's to a property line where someone can build on the other side. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is the 53 feet 4 is to the edge of, I'll call it the sidewalk or the edge of the road there, curb, something.
Exactly. Yeah.
We also we also could count. A home could not be built there because there's a road, so you could count the width of the right of way of the road. Do you happen to know? Maybe Johnny knows what the width of the road there is, the right of way. I'm guessing 40, but I don't know. Do you happen to know?
I would guess probably 50 or 60. I would guess probably 60.
So let's just conservatively say 50. So in effect, they would have 53 feet 4 to the property line plus a 50-foot wide right-of-way road. So they're 100 foot from a residential property right there, right?
Yeah. But I guess one of the reasons we were recommending that is since it's still going to remain a residential street, that with those 4 houses missing, it would still be better to have the commercial use set back at least 100 feet just to preserve that residential character of the street. I get what you're saying, that even with this 53-foot setback from the property line, it would still be 100 feet from any houses, but I guess from a character standpoint, we were wanting it set back even further from the street, or further from the street as well as from any houses. And two, I would mention, yeah, sure. And I would also mention that on this sketch they submitted, it appears they're only accounting for 3 of the 4 lots that they're being added. Well,
Not following you.
Well, I guess if that dimension here is 90 feet, then it probably is. And I was just saying that if you follow this curve on their drawing, it doesn't necessarily show the same scale as this shape, if you follow me here.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Any other questions for Bert at this time? Is the applicant online?
Yes, I saw Nick Brennan.
Yeah, please state your name and address, please.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Uh-huh.
All right, Nick Brenner, 5101 Menard Drive, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, 54703. I'm a real estate representative working on this project. I guess you wanted me just to start off with a quick overview of the project, and then I can dive into some more of the discussion that's occurred already.
Okay.
Okay, so this expansion that we're doing here is what I refer to our competition with online retail expansion. Everything we're doing here is in an effort to compete against online retailing, Amazon and the likes like that, by having it more convenient to shop at Menards. With online retailers, sending merchandise in 2 days, less now, it's becoming more and more important to make sure that it's convenient to shop at the store. You've seen a lot of other retailers like Walmart and Target add onto their stores, the grocery pickup, things like that, in an effort to do the same thing that we're trying to do here. This expansion here, we have rolled out to almost every single one of our stores already. We have probably about 20 stores left out of, over 300 that doesn't have it. This is one of them. So we are hoping with this expansion to bring this up to our current prototype and allow this store to have the same service that our other stores do. So the biggest thing here is our online order pickup area. That is the rear overhang on the Menards store itself. This is right now used for storage. And what we are proposing to do is to enclose it, make it climate control. And what happens is when you order something online or something special order in store, it gets shipped to the back portion of the store, and you can just go straight to it when you want to come pick it up through the yard gate, and you load it up and you can take off. No reason to enter the store, making it much quicker and more convenient. Also, the reason why we're adding the third lane onto the gate, that's an area where you can just scan your receipts. You don't have to wait for the gate attendant. They'll let you in. So again, speeding up the process. In order to fit that special order area, all that material that is being stored there today needs to move out. And that is why we are proposing this second accessory building. There is a lumber rack that is being removed and moved into this warehouse, and also all that merchandise special order area is being moved out there as well. So that is what causes the size of this thing. We need a certain area of this warehouse in order to make all this work. That is what we have proposed here today. The other thing to note as well is building code requires this building to be 60 feet off the Menards store. Right now we're sitting at about 60.5 feet. So this new accessory building is as close to the Menards store as possibly can go. And I guess, in terms of placement and how all this stuff worked out, we understand there's a 100-foot setback there today. We understood that we could have came in here and proposed, a long, thin warehouse similar to the one existing today in that 100-foot setback and asked for the Planning Commission city for a reduction in that 100 feet. We decided not to do that. We decided to try and strike deals with the neighbors here to try and maintain that buffer as best as we could. It is the more difficult route, it's the longer route, the more expensive route, but it is the route that we thought was best served for the community in this neighborhood. So that is the route that we have decided to go. I also want to note we did try to buy another property or two to the north to try and get this building more straight and keep it away from the western property line. Unfortunately, the next neighbor to the north wasn't interested in selling, so we had to adapt to make it work with the 4 properties that we have under contract. Going through the conditions in the staff report, I don't have any issues with any of them. We are going to landscape this thing. We're going to comply with all those requirements, and we are going to probably add even more trees than what's required. We want this to be a nice area for the neighborhood, and the one comment, the staff comment that unfortunately I cannot agree to at this time is the setback to the western property line. As I stated, we need a certain size warehouse to make all this work. We cannot move it any closer to the store because of the built code. So the location of this is essentially where it needs to be. We are over 100 feet away from the property located at 739 Arch, the next property in the southwest corner of our warehouse. When you talk about the road, that was going to be one of the points that I brought up. We're 53 feet off the right-of-way line. If you measure from the back of the warehouse to the actual road itself, we're about 75 feet, and it's about a 50-foot right-of-way, so we're over 103 feet to the closest residential property across the street, as has been mentioned today. The warehouse will be no further or no closer to the street than the existing houses are today. So when you look at those houses, those will be, yes, they will go away, but you will have more green space than you did before and more trees. We are proposing to leave every tree existing today in front of those houses as they are today. So those bigger trees in the front that are right along the right-of-way will stay and will be maintained, and more landscape supplementing those. The one area that I would also ask for a little bit of leniency to is the 90-foot setback to the north. We are buying this property, the northernmost property. We are proposing not to put any improvements on that property. We're buying that solely for the setback itself. And again, if I could get that extra property to the north, I could help maintain the 100 feet, but unfortunately he's not willing to sell. And he was okay and content being there, even with this expansion coming on. So I'm asking for a little bit of leniency in the 10 feet there as well. And we will continue to landscape that and make sure that that's a pleasant experience as you remain in that location. And then I guess one of the final things, I know on the comments from the citizens in the neighborhood, one of the biggest things has been the noise for this facility and the worry behind that. This warehouse building that we're putting in is 29 feet tall. It's going to have a wood back to match everything. Our experience when we put these buildings in, it does great wonders in terms of keeping both noise and light contained within that yard. It's probably actually going to be better than it is today. Right now, today, we have a 14-foot tall fence. That helps immensely, but when you put that big building there, it's going to really contain all of those. So I do think the noise will be pretty minimal when it's all said and done.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Brenner from the commission? Questions? Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor of this proposal? Okay. Is there anyone who would like to speak or express some concern about this proposal? Raise your hand or star 9. Or unmute yourself on the phone. Just star 6. Anyone want to express concern? Okay. I'm not seeing any, so it's time to close the public hearing. Discussion from the commission. We heard that, the applicant's in favor of most things, but wants some leniency on others. So, discussion?
Madam Chair, the commissioners will have to unmute themselves. And panelists, if they're good.
Okay. So I'm looking for some discussion from the commission or a motion.
I would just like to take a look at the neighborhood map again for the notices, if that's possible.
Johnny, are you seeing what you want?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, discussion from the commission or a motion?
And this is Bert. Just to reiterate, really the only 2 points of contention between the applicant and our staff recommendation are this, with condition number 1, we've recommended that this, but setback be increased, but setback right here be increased to 100 feet.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking for a motion.
This is Francis Bogus. I make a motion we approve staff with the exceptions of number 3 and number 1. I think the Menards has done a great job of trying to accommodate the neighbors, and I favor their action with their recommendation.
Thanks, Francis. Any discussion on that motion?
So, Madam Chair, there, Glendy, is that a strike 3 and
Strike 3 and strike 1.
okay?
Strike 3 altogether, or revise it to say 55 feet and 90 feet?
We can revise it if that's agreeable with Menard representative.
Can you scroll back to 1, please?
All right. Sorry, figured it out. Yes, I am in favor if to use the setbacks that we have on this plan. That is going to work for us. So if that is the recommendation to move forward with the specific setbacks we're shown, so 90 feet to that one northern property, and then the 53 to the right of way, I think we are completely okay with that.
And I would suggest that maybe conditions 1, 2, and 3 could just be revised to state that the development shall be in accordance with the large-scale development plan presented to the Plan and Zoning Commission.
Okay, I would agree with that. Did someone make a note of that?
Would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yes, I'll accept it as a friendly amendment.
So, Dolores, you have the motion?
Yes. Pass. Number 7, but to revise 1, 2, and 3.
I'm not sure what number 7 was, Dolores.
Menard. Public hearing item 7, right?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yep.
Item 7?
And to revise 1, 2, and 3. Under staff recommendation.
Okay, that's clear, and Francis accepted that, so we have a motion. So, roll call.
Lisa Howard.
Yes.
Yes. Greg Wadier.
Yes.
Dory Briles.
Yes.
Yes. Francis Bogus.
Yeah.
Carolyn Jennison.
Yes. And I would like to register yes on the last item too, please.
Okay. Steve Wallace.
Yes.
Will Page. Abby Chungus.
Yes.
Johnny Alcivar.
Yes.
Rocky Sposato.
Yes.
Emily Webb. Yes. Greg Jones. Jan Freed.
Yes?
Kayla Berkson. Yes. 12-0, yes.
Thank you. Now we'll go to item number 9. Item number 9, review and approval of site plan 1201 Gisaka Way, requiring the following: Type 2 design alternatives in accordance with Chapter 135, Sections 135-9.2.4b and 135-9.3.1b, in order to allow redevelopment of the existing building site.
Chair, members of the commission, Jason Van Essen with the city's planning staff. I'll show you a map here in a second if I get my computer to cooperate. There we go. Aerial identifying the subject property, a triangle-shaped plot with frontage on Kiyosaki 12th Street and then Crocker Street to the north. You can see the building footprint encompasses most of the site with a little bit of available land to the west. Photograph the subject property looking north and west on 12th Street in Keogh. Looking at the property from would be the looking south and west. Working our way around. field frontage. The applicant is proposing to renovate the building, converting it to multiple tenant spaces and including the dwelling units. Site plan was included in your packet, building elevations. I'll go ahead and run through them, talk generally about the project, and then we can circle back to focus on the type 2 relief request. Demolition plan is showing what's coming out. You can make out by the crosshatch that the concrete's coming out for some bump outs on the north part, curb line, the removal in that open space to the west of the building. We're going to go ahead and skip forward to the landscaping plan because I think that might be the easiest to read and get a sense of what they're doing. You can see that this area over here is the patio space, trash enclosure with access doors that open up onto the sidewalk. Under the building elevation sheets, existing and proposed. We can refer back to this. I did include in my presentation a copy of the applicant explanation or request for their type of relief. I'll summarize this when we get closer to the staff recommendation, but if we do need to show any of the graphics that they provided, we can certainly come back. I always like to point out with these type 2 requests that we always include in the staff report the criteria in the code of how we're supposed to go about reviewing these requests and the criteria for granting them, looking at character, looking at the specific situation of the area. That's there for reference. So circling back to the heading, the first part of the request had to do with the 12th Street sidewalk, and the sidewalk that's there today, or the curb line, is a little under 11 feet wide, which is not wide enough to do street trees. They were showing in the landscaping plan beds with the ornamental grass. The comments that they received, the direction that they're getting from staff is that the curb line is adjusted. I saw in the demolition plan that the curb is coming out, so we've requested that they provide a 12-foot width, so move the curb a little bit to the east, and that would allow for the curb line. So that's the first part of the and then as we're talking about 12th Street, staff has also directed them to do a bump out at the intersection of 12th and Keogh. They are showing them the two northern corners of the site. The requested waiver of one that is being requested at the south. There is a new intake, and I believe that's part of their classes there, wanting to not have to deal or relocate, maybe is a more appropriate word, that intake. The other part, when you saw the landscaping plan, I pointed out the enclosure for the trash. Normally, our requirements in Chapter 135 would require that to be set back, for the door to be open on their property, to have a 5-foot landscape buffer, for there to be a pedestrian access. In this case, staff is supportive of the request. If the commission would like to look at it a little closer, I certainly can go back to it, but I don't want to go into too much depth. But there's challenges with grade here. There's challenges with not having a lot of open space on the site to position the enclosure elsewhere. They're also trying hard to have a functional patio space for potential tenants of the building, and we support the request for waiver as it relates to the enclosure requirement. On parking, I think what I'll do there is I'll go back to the map. You look closely, you should be able to see the zoning district labels. The site is zoned MX2, but across the street is CX2, which is our downtown destination. This whole area on this map is actually on the future land use map is designated as downtown. So the character of the area and the long-term thought, I believe, are of the downtown character. But it so happens to be that NX2 would require off-street, or 27 parking stalls. There's limited opportunity to provide off-street parking, given that most of the site is a building footprint, and that what's left is unusually shaped or irregularly shaped. And I believe that providing a functional outdoor space is more of an amenity that's appropriate for downtown than trying to squeeze in just a couple parking stalls. There are spaces along the street, site plan indicates that they built it and stalls along Crocker Street. Staff is supportive of the request to waive the parking requirement. Go back to the staff report. Actually, I think I'll keep it here on the aerial. So the other part of the request had to do with overhead utility lines. This is the last part of the request. The applicant is proposing to underground the utility lines along 12th Street, but is requesting waiver of that requirement along Crocker Street. In their submittal, they did provide an estimate or an email from Mid-American that suggested it to do the work along Crocker would cost $230,000. But we didn't have, as staff, we didn't have any context for that, with that submittal with regard to what kind of impact that has on the budget, what other potential physical constraints there are in the area. Are there other, are these a feeder line, for example, that maybe serve multiple sites or a large area? We just need a little bit more information. Without that, we can't support the relief request. So to summarize the staff recommendation, I'll go ahead and pull it up here. Staff is recommending denial of the waiver of the sidewalk width for 12th Street. We're recommending denial of the request to waive the bump out requirement at Keogh and 12th. We are recommending approval of waiver of the trash enclosure requirement. Recommending approval of waiving the parking requirement. And then recommending denial of the undergrounding request for along Crocker Street. And then we also always include the bottom part where the public hearing site plans. We're recommending approval of that, just subject to the plan being updated to comply with anything that comes out of this meeting and action on the type 2 request. And the other administrative comments that might come up. I do have one more slide. Please zoom out. This was an example that our engineering department provided one of our review comment letters of an alternative way of how that bump out could be handled without having to reconstruct the intake.
Cassie.
The engineer referred to this as a channel or floating island technique. So we do think there might be some creative ways to do a bump out at 12th Street that would be less costly than moving the intake. Don't believe I've shown the consent map yet. Keep that up. Site plans we noticed, but we don't send cards out. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the commission has for me.
Questions for Jason? Is the applicant online? If so, state your name and address.
Hello? Ah, yeah, I can. I was getting my voice right.
Hi, this is Mindy and Matt Oss work together on one phone, and I don't think I said that when I first registered in, but our address is 1031 7th Street in West Des Moines.
That work. Okay, bye.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Matt Oss, same address, 1031 7th Street, West Des Moines.
I guess we just thank you, Madam Chairperson, and the commission members. We're super excited about the project. It will be owner-occupied with our offices there. As you can see, it's been a very challenging site to work with, an historic building. It fills most of the block. And it's sat underdeveloped for decades, I think because of the challenging financial burden. And I guess responding to the question about the Mid-American quote for $230,000, those lines, none of them serve our building. They all do traverse the site. We are burying the pool that does serve our building that's on 12th Street. So yeah, $230,000 was too much of a financial burden for this project.
And I think the other thing, to note on that is just that, we talked to Mid-American back in February, and at that time they said, wait a minute, none of these utility, lines are yours. They're all connecting the neighbors. So they didn't think it was reasonable for us to pay for it at that time, so we kind of put this off. We talked to the city and, mentioned that. They said, well, maybe you can have the city pay for it. So that was kind of where we left it at that point. But as far as the financial burden, it would, it just wouldn't make the project viable. But that's the main thing on the utility lines. I mean, we'd love to have them there. I mean, there's no doubt. It's just, this is already a very challenging, financially to make this project work. I think our budget's ballooned up to, I think we're at $5.8 million right now at this point, and at initial, discussions with the city, I think we're at 4.9. So that gives you a little indication of making this, viable project again. It just makes it difficult.
And this is Mindy again, addressing the bump out and the curb widening. I guess those kind of a little bit go hand in hand. On that 12th Street, about half of that is the original 1910 storefront of the southern section of that. So hopefully we would have some relief from street trees there. That's one of the strategies, I guess, for why we're planting grasses along 12th. There's a 8-foot drop from Crocker down to Keogh. So there's a significant grade drop there as well. And then, there is that existing fairly new storm intake. And I don't know if Dylan from Venus is on the line.
Question?
I am on the line. Mindy, did you want me to weigh in? This is Dylan at Genus.
Yes, please.
No, I'm sitting at the MSC.
Yes, so regarding the bump out at 12th and Keogh, we understand the channelizing of stormwater and the floating island concept.
I mean, I'm working, but
We
I'm not
understand that
anything I have
studied.
to do.
Still to be determined if that intake would be impacted. I guess to add on to that, if one of the other
Are you
requests
at my house or you're
from
going to my
the
house?
city
Are you
and the staff recommendation is to move the curb line.
produce on the bottom shelf?
So what we would have to do is move the curb line and then transition it back to the existing curb intake location. So you have kind of this variable in and out curb line condition, and then the floating island. And then further, the bump out doesn't really serve, in our opinion, any safety purpose at this location. There's no pedestrian crossing, so we're not shortening, crosswalk length for pedestrian crossing over the road, so that movement does not happen pedestrian-wise here. I think there are other developments in this area that have been completed in recent years particularly north, where the curb line was not required to move or even be touched, no bump outs added. We are adding bump outs everywhere feasible on the north side of the project and on 12th Street currently at Crocker and 12th, and that does improve the pedestrian experience. And a bump out at this location would negatively impact the parking, and as was previously stated, it's sort of at a premium. It's a tight downtown area, not a lot of places to park, and with the tenant spaces here, maybe benefiting from public use, it would be great to keep as much parking as possible on 12th Street. Not need to bump out at 12th Street would allow us to gate that extra space, which would be really useful. So those are some thoughts on the bump out and the compliance.
Okay. Well, this is
They're definitely out.
and I wanted to ask the applicant, can you clarify what are you not in agreement with on the staff recommendation? Just be very specific.
We would like you to grant all the type 2 design alternatives that we propose. So I don't think they are recommending approval of non-undergrounding mold.
No, wait. Girls' cheer shoes, Kohl's.
We would like approval
Browse generic shoes at Kohl's now. Shop the
curb
best
at 11 feet where it is and not do the bump out at the 12th and Keogh intersection. Those are the 3 that I think staff did not recommend that we would like approved.
So focus on those 3. Okay. Questions from the commission to the applicant or to Mr. Jones?
There's a white Nike Sideline women's cheer shoe. Let's see, free ship.
Question?
Shouldn't like them.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor of the proposal? Raise your hand or star 9.
Well, I was going to look to see.
On your phone.
What size does she wear? 7.5, 8.
Okay. Is there anyone who would like to, who has concern about this proposal, who would like to speak? Does anyone have concerns about this proposal you'd like to speak?
That's all I see, Cassie.
Okay.
Did you find the cheaters?
Ben?
Madam Chair, this is Eric Lundy. We need to get Dylan's business or home address for the record.
Okay. Mr. Jones, your home address or an address.
This is Dylan Jones, Genus Landscape Architect. I will give my business address. Genus is located at 325 East 5th Street, Des Moines, Iowa, 50309.
What if you...
Thank you. It's time to close the public hearing. Time for discussion. Discussion and or motion.
Madam Chair, this is Johnny Altamar.
You're Facebook friends with Kathy McCoy. aren't
I
you?
would like to, first of all, thank the Austin Real Estate Group for their interest in renovating this property. I know that there is a lot of challenges with this
Carlisle is red.
particular site. That said, I will be supporting staff
I'm sitting
recommendations.
here trying to think of things, and
I'm very familiar with this area, and I do disagree with some of the comments regarding the pedestrian and the curve, the bump out specifically over at 12th and Keosauqua. I think this is the light that follows the exit from the Interstate 235, and this is the only chance that people get to cross the street. So having a bump out there will definitely assist with crossing that street in a safe manner. I can tell you that myself, without any disabilities, I have to run across the street when I have the red light in my favor. So a bump out will definitely help. In addition to that, I feel like staff has shown flexibility with waiving any parking requirements, which provides some additional financial gain, and thus some of the other recommendations from staff, such as behind the request for the less than 12 feet of sidewalk. I think we can make some comments to support that recommendation as well, especially with the removal of the curve already taking place. And lastly, I think if we've learned anything from the last week, it's that we need to have all of our utilities undergrounded, and that's why I will be supporting the staff recommendation today. Those are my comments. Thank you.
I would kind of consider, I'm interested in what people feel about the utility.
This is Greg. Johnny, I appreciate your thoughts, your motion. I agree with most of what you said. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to support your motion because I do not think they should be required to bury the overhead utilities on Crocker for a variety of reasons. I do agree with you on supporting staff on the bump out in the 12th Street. I'm sorry, the sidewalk along 12th.
And that's exactly kind of how I was feeling too, Greg, that that's the one aspect of the staff report that I'm finding difficulty with for the reasons that the applicant suggested. So, Johnny, would you accept a friendly amendment or not? We could vote on your motion.
Yeah, I'm not willing to amend that motion based on the prior developments across downtown. A lot of people have the same challenge to deal with undergrounding utilities, yet they find a way to get it done. And it's, as I mentioned, based on especially the recent events that have taken place, the faster we move towards undergrounding utilities across town, the better of the system we're going to have as far as being resilient through weather and patterns that are changing. So I would remain with the staff recommendation as is.
Okay.
And also want to point out that based on the budget for this project, we're talking about less than 5%. That's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
And I will agree with you, given the derecho that we just experienced. Underground is better, that's for sure. So we have a motion. And we have a motion. So roll call.
Francis August?
Yes.
Dory Briles? No. Greg Wadier?
No.
Lisa Howard?
No.
Kayla Berkson? No. Jan Freed?
No.
Greg Jones? Emily Webb?
No.
Rocky Sposato?
No.
Johnny Alcivar?
Yes.
Abby Tungus? Yes. Will Page? Steve Wallace? Steve Wallace?
No.
And Carolyn Jennison?
No.
That's 3 yes. And 9 no.
Okay, thank you, Dolores. I believe the public hearing is closed, correct?
Madam Chair, another motion could be considered.
Oh.
I'd like to offer a new motion, Madam Chair. This is Greg.
Oh, sorry, Greg. Yes, I didn't catch that. Okay.
I would move staff accept. I would approve the request for the Type 2 design alternative to waive the bearing of the overhead utilities on Crocker Street.
Okay, we have a motion. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Greg Jones, Dan Freed,
Yes.
yes. Kayla Berkson, yes. Lisa Howard,
Yes.
yes. Greg Wadier,
Yes.
yes. Dory Briles,
Yes.
yes. Francis Boggett,
Yes.
yes. Carolyn Jennison, yes. Steve Wallace,
Yes. Yes.
Will Page, Abby Chungus,
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Johnny Escobar,
Yes.
Rocky Sposato,
Yes.
Emily West,
Yeah.
yeah. That's 11, yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Is there a director's report, Mike?
Chair, members of the commission, Michael Ludwig, no report this evening, just we're continuing to meet virtually at an indefinite period right now. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd say our meeting is adjourned. Thank you to everyone. Stay healthy, stay hopeful.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jan.
Thanks, Dan.